Hey, what's cooking, Jay?
Hello everyone, welcome back to Gunther's Kitchen. Today I've got my daughter with me and she's making a delicious bread. Sourdough white, fluffy and crusty on the outside. So Carly, take it away.
Let's do it. All right, so what we need for this sourdough loaf is active sourdough starter that we prepared last night in the fridge. So this one is 20 grams of sourdough starter and 50 grams of flour and 50 grams of warm water. And then we mix it together and put it in the fridge overnight to prepare it.
Yeah.
Okay.
In any case, all the measurements from the ingredients you need, like the flour, the salt, everything will be in the descriptions.
Exactly.
So just check it out and have a go. Try it. I'm sure, like us, you will be successful.
Exactly. And if you want the full sourdough starter recipe, we'll link the other video below. Then we also need 500 grams of bread flour, 10 grams of salt, and 325 grams of warm water. All right, so first we're going to start with our sourdough starter. So we're going to weigh out 125 grams. So we'll just weigh that into this bowl.
Yeah, so now when you see what's left in here, just put this in the fridge and next time you just add your flour and your water to it and overnight you let it, develop into an active starter again. Don't waste this, yeah? Keep it in your fridge.
And then we're going to add our water. So we've got 325 grams of warm water. And then I use a dough whisk, but you can use any normal whisk as well. And we'll just whisk this together. All right, so that's the sourdough starter and the water together. And then I'm going to add my flour. So 500 grams of bread flour.
And this one is, it's reasonably high protein. Just check out when you buy your flour that it's got a decent amount of protein in it. This is 11.5 or 12% protein.
All right, so we're just going to mix it together until it becomes like a shaggy dough. So this recipe is quite a high hydration dough, so it can be quite wet when you're like working with it, but don't be scared of that. I like it when it's high hydration. I find the crumb is better, and yeah, I like it.
It seems to be rising easier as well when the dough is a bit wetter, as long as it's not too sticky when you work it.
Yeah, and then what I do is, once you've got about this, I'm just gonna wet my hands and then I'm gonna press in the salt. And it's just easier to work with wet hands. Yeah, you can put it because then it doesn't stick to you as much. So just like dimple it in. Okay, done. Now I usually let it rest for an hour. Just cover it in a tea towel, let it rest on the bench for an hour, and then we'll come back to it.
Okay, see you in 1 hour.
So it's been an hour. We've let our dough rest. So now we're going to do our first set of stretch and folds. We're going to do 4 stretch and folds, half an hour apart. So let's do our first one. So usually I wet my hands just so the dough doesn't stick to my hands. So I'm going to go each corner, lift up and down. The next side, lift up and down. So I do 4. I usually just lift it so it can stretch and down. And then the last one probably won't stretch as much. Down.
So that's the indication when it's sort of stretched enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
When it doesn't pull anymore.
Yeah, that's it. So we're going to leave it for half an hour and then we'll do our next one.
All right, okay. So we come back on our last stretch and fold.
All right, so we're on to our last stretch and fold. So we're going to do the same thing again. Wet our hands a bit, although now that we're on our last stretch and fold, the dough is a lot easier to work with, so it usually doesn't stick as much. So we're going to do stretch up. It's a lot smoother, just feels a lot nicer. Stretch
It looks more compact.
Yeah, it's much nicer.
It's got more shape up than flat.
So now, what I usually do is let it bulk ferment. We usually put it in the oven just with the light on for, it depends how warm the area is that you're going to put it in, but at least 3 to 4 hours usually, until it's at least doubled in size.
Okay, so then when it's doubled in size, what are we going to do?
Then we're going to shape it.
Okay. Okay, it's time to shape the bread. So it's been bulk fermenting for about 4 hours. So now what we do is, I always use rye flour. I know a lot of people use rice flour, but I always had good experience with my rye flour. And then we put it on the bench. Okay, take the scraper and we take it out. It's a very, very soft dough. So Carly just said to me, I have to shape it for her. And tomorrow, she's going to come back for baking it. So, a bit more. So what I'm trying to do is have all the rough sides down the bottom. And put that in here. And then I'm going to put enough rye flour on the outside so it won't stick to the basket. And then we just put a tea towel in it, and now it goes in the fridge overnight. All right? So tomorrow, but we won't stress too much about it, maybe 9 o'clock. We're going to put it in the oven. All right, I see you then. All right, so now we're back and it's time to put the bread in the oven.
All right, so we're going to grab our silicone baking mat. If you don't have this, you can just use...
parchment paper?
Yes. All right, so I'm going to tip it out.
I'm just walking around here.
Oh, we have a lovely shape from our bassinet. All right, I'm going to cut it. We're just going to do one big cut.
Okay, so in the meantime I take the pot out of the oven.
All right, we put it in.
And we put the lid on. We've got it on 230 degrees and we put it in for 20 minutes. The 20 minutes are up. Now let's open the oven and take the lid off. Just be careful you don't burn yourself. And then we're turning it down to 200 and we're giving it another 25 minutes. Okay, so the time is up. Let's take it out of the oven and see what it's like. Whew. Hot, all right? Not bad. Here you go.
Oh.
You want to lift it up?
Sure.
Yeah. Whoa.
It's hot.
Here we go. What do you think?
Pretty good. It's risen pretty well,
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah, it's got some big pores. So now we let it cool down until it's fully cold, really, because the longer you let it cool down now, the more the sourness develops as well and more the flavor develops. Mm-hmm. Also, when you cut it too early, because it still keep cooking while it's hot, and it gets gluggy on the inside when you cut it too early.
Yep.
All right, so just let it dry out, be patient. Ideally, cut it the next day, yeah? Or at least 3 hours, let it cool down. Yeah, so what do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah, about the bread.
It looks delicious. So we've got our delicious white sourdough loaf made with a rye starter, so it's a little bit darker, but it looks beautiful and crusty. It'll be fluffy on the inside. Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah,
it's got a good
sound. It sounds
sound.
great. And
yeah. Nice and
it's
crusty.
got a nice crunch to it.
It looks beautiful.
And it's actually not too heavy.
No.
You know, it looks heavier than it is. You know, so as always, thanks for coming. Thanks for showing me
No
your bread.
worries, no worries.
And do you want to say the goodbye or do I say the goodbye?
I don't know. So leave us a comment what you'd like us to make next. Give us a follow and a like, and we'll see you next time.
Gunther's Kitchen. Bye for now.